Okay, we're going to do a little one on hometown history. Now, he's the one that likes to be vague every once in a while and try to delude black people. He's trying to say this is African Queen's history. And of course, down in the comments, black people are thinking that they're all Negroids and they're all West African primitives like he is and the people that are talking. But actually, none of these have any relation to him but one. And it's not that impressive, but it's something cool that you can grip onto because Egypt and all these other ones that he mentions really have nothing to do with you whatsoever. You weren't related, didn't know it existed. But then also, most of them that he mentions are not Negroids. And we're going to get into it. Notice that, look at him real close here as we start, because when black people or any person blinks a whole lot, they're usually lying.
This just might be the most important list for the 21st century Afro-descendant woman.
Oh, yeah. And so he shows an extremely admixed.
What up, African world? It's your boy, Home Man. I'm back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And today I want to talk about the top 10 queens in African history. To begin, this is not a popularity contest. So the standard of this list is not solely based on the queen's popularity, but many other factors like power, influence,
And really, he just goes and tells you during it that it's one that he really likes, and he doesn't want to give you the most popular one because they're Caucasians out of the list. So he tries to give you a boon on the other end. Let's get started.
overall impact on African history. Let's begin. Coming in at number 10, we have Queen Nefertiti. Honestly, the only reason she made this list is because I pretty much couldn't ignore her. Her popularity has certainly stood the test of time, and that is greatness in and of itself. But she also...
Yeah, and he'd like to throw her off of there because right before he did this video, it came out that she's Caucasian. And they always knew it because the statue, not this one, but the famous one that you always see, it's missing her eye right here on the right. But on the left, it's still there and it's blue. And they recently redid a total genetic makeup of her to look natural, and I'll be damned if it isn't just straight Caucasian. They didn't even put a blue eye in her. They put brownish eyes, and they made her one shade darker than the statue, and black people still lost their mind trying to say that they was Egyptians. Who's saying this? West African primitive descendants. Well, why would they even say anything like that? They didn't know Egypt existed. Exactly, but that's what we have in America, and they huff up and down like they did something, and they mention this. They also like to try to covet the Bible and say they had something to do with it. And of course, it's the Caucasian history, it really, and religion. It has nothing to do with Negroids. But they try so hard. Hell, on one of my videos right now, there's this girl that has put 30 different things about how she thinks that blacks are part of the Bible. And she started out nice, but then she slowly and surely broke into Neanderthal caveman, yip, 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 and talking crap. It's hilarious. I might do a video about it too, so you can see how somebody can come on trying to act nice and trying to put some wool over the eyes on researchers that know that she's lying. And so she's sitting there trying to tell you Santa Claus is true, and she keeps going and going and going, and it gets pretty disgusting sometimes, but let's go on.
Plasma other specifications. Nefertiti's husband is pretty much known for ridding Egypt of all of its gods, and advancing the idea of monotheism with the worship of the supreme god, Aten.
Now, one thing about that, it really wasn't looked as too favorable, that he had done it too harsh, too much at once, too drastic, and so it was something that was extremely not appreciated by him doing it and everything. And really, they almost had their names stripped off of history, and King Tut wasn't really known either and everything. But he's not going to mention that. He's going to talk about monotheism because blacks in America are caught up in a monotheistic idea now because they worship the Caucasian god of the Caucasian Bible that doesn't mention Negroids in it whatsoever. It does mention Egypt and these places and stuff, but of course that doesn't have anything to do with West African primitives, and it doesn't talk about the biblical people ever being Negroid whatsoever. In fact, there are women that actually beg forgiveness for even being tanned. Yeah, do not look upon me, O Israel, for I am dark yet comely. The sun hath looked upon me. Yep, tanned. Yeah, blacks like to use that first phrase, but they won't say the second part because they know it just gives up the truth of the reality. For the sun hath looked upon me. Why is she dark but comely? Oh, the sun looked on her. Black people don't get a tan. Oh, that's amazing. What's she doing? She's apologizing for all of it. She says, goes further and says, my brothers made me work in the vineyards and stuff, and oh, okay, so she just got tan from that, but she's apologizing for being tan? What could a Negro possibly do? Well, it doesn't matter. They weren't part of the religion. You can pray to a Caucasian god right now if you want to, but if you do anything else, it's blaspheming like hell and disgusting, racist, and pathetic.
Chloe is largely credited with this. Queen Nefertiti played a large role in maintaining this idea in support of her husband. She was literally a part of one of the largest religious revolutions in Egyptian history, outside of the 25th dynasty Nubian kings.
On top of that, they changed the art style during then and made everybody look horse-faced and wobbly-legged and butted and stuff, and it just was probably just too much at one time. A lot of that got taken away. We really studied into it and then found him and then realized that, oh my gosh, that this is an important dynasty, and it really wasn't so important till you figure out how King Tut figures into it, Tai, and all the other ones that they have, and then it brought something to light that really was kind of hushed over time.
She was well known for her beauty. Number 9, we have Queen Goody. Now, virtually no one knows.
Yeah, she was well known for her beauty. I'm sorry, I should have let that go 4 more words. Her name actually means beauty comes to us. And a lot of people said that she might have even been a Marna princess whenever they realized that no matter what, she's Caucasian, and her mummy has Caucasian hair that they've still found and everything. And she's got a blue eye in her statue. And then the Amarna traded a couple of women of their princesses and stuff to be a thing. See, they were friendly with those people. They didn't like the Nubians and staved them off. They called them vile Nubian troglodytes, and they weren't even allowed into Egypt by decree. But so she was named for her beauty, and when you look at her, you can tell easily she's not a Negroid. Now he's going to mention a lady here that actually supposedly has some Negroid admix. She's supposed to be a Caucasian, has some Negroid admix. When you look at the picture of her, you can easily tell that that's what that would be.
About Queen Goody, largely because Western scholars pretty much ignore her. But Goody was a legendary Jewish queen that's known throughout African oral history. She's largely believed to have come from the Sidamo people of southern Ethiopia. Now, Goody single-handedly destroyed the Aksumite Empire, located in northern Ethiopia.
Yeah, so you hear Oxumites and stuff like that. She just totally went crazy and everything, and supposedly it had something to do with after the time of Christ and so on. And there are people that say that those weren't even black people at that time, even then, that they had black people under them, but they weren't mulattoed. In fact, whenever they even mulattoed themselves, it ruined the whole thing, and that's what she smoked out. But there's a lot of conjecture, but one thing's for sure, West African primitives didn't know that she existed. They know now, and it's cool that you can have a prominent woman, but when you're looking at a Caucasian, and for the first 2 of them, it's got to feel somewhat kind of weird for you. But there's not much known about primitive princesses or things like that, and it's not near as exciting or have anything cool attached to it. And that may give a reason to why black people always try to say they were Egyptians in anything but West African primitives. But let's go on.
Burned down churches, she destroyed monuments, and she almost eliminated the entire royal family of Lagoon. Even today.
Yeah, and it's looked at as being extremely disgusting. She came in and just kind of smoked the thing. And, you know, you raise that temple to the ground, and that's terrible. Don't do that. She did that.
In the Ethiopian countryside, Ethiopians speak of her reign as queen. She's widely known throughout Ethiopian oral history. But even the Arab scholar Ibn Hakel spoke about Queen Goody. He states, and I quote, "The country of the Habasha has been ruled by a woman for many years now. She has killed..."
Pause. The country of the Caucasians, right there. Blacks don't even get facial hair really, or hair on their body really, unless they have admix. Some of them are so proud of it, they like to talk about white people and Neanderthals and yip and say it, because a lot of them don't get a good beard. Now this guy's got a good beard, but see how it's all on his neck too? That's another thing that blacks have a whole lot more of. Whites get it some too, but they get it on their neck. But they don't like shaving it because it causes extreme bumps and everything. I know a few black people, and they have to put this shaving cream on it. It's like hair remover, depilator, and they use that instead. Otherwise, they get all bump and broke out, and it ruins their face. But they don't want to mention something like that because they is. But no matter what he says past this point, you can tell this is a picture that goes along with it. And that hand that's reaching out is also Caucasian. He's a Caucasian, they're Caucasians. Here's Caucasians.
The king of the Habasha, who was called Hadani. Until today, she rules with complete independence in her own country. and the frontier areas of the country of Adana, in the southern part of Habasha. She's one of the few African queens that literally struck terror in the hearts of indigenous African people.
And they think that she was from Yemen, and she's an Arabic woman that came in, or a half Arabic woman. And is the other half Negroid? No, no. But then there's this other story that kind of goes that way too. But then there's another weird story that says it goes Jewish and everything. So it's really confusing. But then whenever you look at the only pictures of her, of them, and what went on, then you realize that they're Caucasians regardless.
Now that's power.
Now
Number
that's
8,
power.
we have Queen Amina. Queen Amina was a legendary warrior queen of the Hausa people in northern Nigeria. The earliest account.
Now, so what we're seeing here is now well after westernization, for you can see that she's on a horse, and horses aren't endemic to North Africa. In fact, it's well known that the first horses that ever made it to the Levant and Africa came from the Hyksos that came in and co-ruled Egypt for a good long time. And they also correlate, it seems, to the tale of Exodus and everything of those biblical Caucasians that we all know and love so much, except for Negroids who try to blaspheme the image of God because of jealousy and a lack of anything worth talking about. Now you see her with a sword made out of metal, and you see her wearing more modern clothes, and you see her on a horse with extra stuff on, and all of that image is Caucasian brought to her. But what's he going to tell you that she did for the people?
Of Queen Amina proclaims that she was the first to bring about civilization amongst the Hausa people.
Oh, so she took them out of being primitive, like the West African primitives. She helped to take them out of it. Could it be that she had some experience and ran across a few people, maybe even did a visit and saw what Caucasian life was like, and then said, man, we got to get our crap together. We're primitives.
She was widely known for her military exploits and extending Hausa rule and influence in different regions. She's credited with the construction of Hausa walls built around the city for protection. Man, talk about starting from the bottom.
Yep, talk about starting from the bottom. Well, all the Negroids did, and they didn't have anything to do with Egypt and stuff, and they really all started from the bottom. Even the Ethiopians and the Nubians were kind of taught and directed by the Caucasian Egyptians. Of course, you don't see any great cities in Nubia and everything that comes off of it, and that area up north of there where he's talking about so fervently has the Dinka and other people that tongue punch the fart box of cows and take piss baths and stuff. And well, that cow, that comes from Eurasia too. The cows, the grain, everything that they have really comes from that. Ethiopians are 40 to 50% admixed now, and none of their mix is actually sub-Saharan too. It's strange. 7 Phoenician 7 just made a video about it, which clarifies, but geneticists that are so much smarter than any person trying to talk about black people came out with this information. And she's going through a whole series of them. Any black tribe, all around, anywhere, everywhere. She's explaining it all, but about to do one about West Africa, and she's got me kind of hyped up about it too with a few of the things she said, but it's another way of proving it and verifying it. I was saying purified, proving and verifying it. And I guess that's purifying the idea. But yeah, so Nigeria, they were just primitives until this lady came along, and wow, it was way late to the game.
Single-handedly took her people to the next level. Coming in at number 7.
So she took them to the next level, which is primitive plus 1. And compared to the people that were around her during that time, it's not that great, but it's a whole lot better than they were. Kind of like when Caucasians showed up at the West Ivory Coast and started importing Negroids that they were already capturing and selling for beads and alcohol or less, like a drive-through slave mart, to Islam for 900 years before the Americas were even found. And during all of that thousands of years and stuff that went on, they actually went up a notch eventually, and a bunch more notches after Caucasians got it through with them and started educating them and doing all the things that we've done for them. And yet you just see how they racistly lie about history and hate white folks, and they've turned into where they live off their victimhood. Basically, they want to go around and play victim, wheeze, and try to get money and stuff. It's disgusting. In fact, there have been this new talk about reparations for slavery way back when, trying to get people who are never slave masters to pay people who are never slaves. It's disgusting and pitiful, but you can see the black directive just wants something for free, and it's gotten pushed that way now with affirmative action and all these freebies that they're given, and welfare and food stamps and everything else to to live off of. Hell, they don't even have to try, and all they have to do is talk crap about white people. And if they aren't getting their way, they just say racist. Well, that's gotten old now, and everybody's realized the most racist people in America are Negroids, who lie about everything, cause the most crime, and it's really gotten out of hand, and we're trying to correct it now. While we're trying to correct it, Negroids are going crazy trying to claim other civilizations, and it's gotten way past disgusting. The only reason I'm talking about this is they infiltrate my ancient Near Eastern videos that don't talk about them whatsoever and try to tell me they were them, and then they hop up and down and tell me I'm a white snow cave ape and silly stuff, disgusting racist stuff. Yip yip, that mouth.
7, we have Queen Amanshekhetep. Queen Amanshekhetep was a Kandaki queen in ancient.
Kandaki queen. He's in the middle trying to say Nubia. This is a lie. She's not Nubian. She is a Kushite type that's there. And I want to tell you something before he goes off on this and one more. Kandake. Kandake is what the name was for Persian queens, and it might give you a hint to what's going on. Yeah, it's Candace. Oh, it was spelled with a K and can't figure it out. Duh. Candace, Kandake. Meroe itself is named after Cambesia's sister. Cambesius is the Persian. I've heard blacks try to claim Persians, and that's hilarious as hell because they are one people who have clearly denoted and wrote it on the walls in stone that they're Aryans. So it would be much more pathetic to try that, but they don't care. They're going to try anything because they know there's connections to Egypt and everything, and it would ruin their dung hut dream. So they've got to lie about other people too, and the Bible people, and it just swells out because those are all related, and they aren't related to them at all. So they have to start claiming damn near everything. It's pathetic whenever none of it is.
Nubia. She came from a line of Kandaki Nubian queens that would literally fight in battle. She became very popular after her pyramid in Nubia was discovered with loads of jewelry, hinting at her vast wealth. But she makes the list because of her legendary status. She's most known for having defeated a Roman army sent by Augustus to conquer Nubia after Rome broke a treaty made by her mother. By the way,
if I'm not mistaken, I could be, okay? Don't hold this against me. This is the one where they just sent a little government up there and didn't try to do the thing like he described, and she attacked them. So he's going to call it the defeat because 20 guys showed up to run a little thing and they killed off these guards with hundreds of men. That's kind of pathetic, and it started something pretty bad. He didn't actually want Nubia. Nobody wanted Nubia. They don't want to claim them in any way, shape, or forms. He was pretty much staving them off, telling them what they could do and couldn't do. That is exactly what happens at the end of it, regardless. But it's got a cool story goes along with it. Let him tell it in his way, just so he feels better.
Rome made several attempts to try and conquer Nubia and failed miserably. Most of them thwarted by black women in particular. Number 6, we have Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba.
Oh, he just left it out and everything. Well, yeah, the big story was, didn't shit happen, and he set forth a boundary and told them they couldn't come into Egypt no matter what. He isn't going to go into that. Okay, so next we're going to the Queen of Sheba, and she's a Caucasian. She's a pale Caucasian lady here. Now, when you see an Ethiopian picture, they always draw their heads with this round thing on it, and blacks try to say, oh, it's a fro, oh, it's a fro. Sabaeans have nothing to do with Negroids. I'm about to show you that. Let's see what Sabaeans... So if we wanted to look at the Queen of Sheba, you could look at this exhibit of a non-Negroid. But you ought to see what their art looks like. Pause that and read it. Pause that and read it. And so we find that Aksum and places are actually controlled by these people over here, and how the Arabics had come into it, and who the Queen of Sheba is. And so whenever he says African queens, it's not even an African queen whatsoever. Saba is this land right here. Saba is this land right here. So blacks get real happy and they talk about Queen of Sheba, Queen of Sheba. There's a mulatto in the Bible. And no, there are no Negroids in the Bible whatsoever. These are all Caucasians. In fact, the closest that their stuff looks like, the old stuff looks like Sumerians, and the Etruscans looking like here, and then towards the end they start looking very Greek and stuff, and there's a reason for that, and there's a reason there are no Negroids in the Bible whatsoever, because it's not about them whatsoever. And you can tell that these are Caucasians all the way through, 2nd century even. How old is this? Yeah, just like crazy. Showing his hand. Caucasians, and there's that angel depiction. Yeah, dedicated to the goddess Shams. Well, now who is Shams? Oh, that's Shamash. That's the sun god that all the Aryans worshipped in this whole area, and these are part of him. Yep. And the symbol of the crescent moon and stuff that looks very Islamic, perhaps, but that's a depiction that's stolen much later. See if we can't get any other good pictures of him there. Do you think that looks like a big nose and big lips? Or not? That's 6th century AD, but we look at the old ones, and they even have blue eyes in the statue like the ancient Sumerians, and a very alkaline nose, and they make their stuff out of alabaster. Take a look at that. See what you think. Oh, blue eyes again. Blue stones, lapis lazuli in the eyes. Here's the queen of the Sabaean kingdom. So this would have been like the queen of Sheba, 8th century BC. And we can tell that she's Caucasian, and a little mouth and her nose, and looks like an English lady, and nowhere near like a Negroid whatsoever. And that's about enough of showing you that he's lying his ass off and doesn't have a clue, and he wants Negroids to think that a Caucasian, like he shows right here, was somehow an African queen, whenever she's not a queen even in Africa, and she's known for what happened in the Levant and biblical people, and not in Africa again. But let's let him go.
It has to be one of the most legendary, influential queens in all of African history. Her legend even extends outside of Africa, and she's known by many different people by many different names.
Her legend extends out of Africa because that's where the hell she was. And not only is she pale and light, but look up in the picture right here in the corner. You can barely make it out, but there's 2 blonde-headed people.
The Hebrews know her as Sheba, the Arabs know her by Bilqis, people of Kenya call her Nakuti, and the Ethiopians call her Queen Makeda. Her interaction with the Hebrew king Solomon is one of the most legendary stories in all of the Abrahamic religions.
But it doesn't have anything to do with Negroids, as you can see right now, plainly, and with the art from the place, dug out from the temples right around it. And unless they're all worshiping whitey gods and whitey people and tried to make themselves look white in art, they aren't Negroids whatsoever. Try to compare her to him, and he's admixed.
Religion was even formed because of her story alone. Her influence on the minds of Afro-descendant people as a whole will probably never die.
They want to be in the Bible so bad, and it's probably never going to die, that they lie, covet, and bear false witness and try to say they're part of the Bible, but they aren't in any way, shape, or form, and it's been well documented and well proven. Meanwhile, on my site, whenever I show something like this, they jump on, and they think they know something. Ooh, and they go, Moses put his hand in and out of his shirt, and it went from tan to white. And they go, yeah, tan to white. Okay. They're all Caucasians. Never mind.
Number 5, we have Ya Asantewaa. Ya Asantewaa was a queen in the Ashanti Empire in Ghana. She led the war against the British Empire in the 20th century.
And to get a black person of a queen worth talking about for him as he goes through the list, you can tell this is such modern time. They've actually got her there, and what she's holding in her hand, oh, that's a carbine rifle. That's a Caucasian invention. That's amazing.
Ya Asantewaa is so unique is the powerful impact she had on the minds of her people. Now, many queens had a very powerful impact on their people.
Sure.
But Ya Asantewaa's impact was very unique. In a meeting of the Ashanti elites to discuss how to deal with the British and to secure the return of their exiled king, there was a disagreement among them. Apparently, Ya Asantewaa heard enough, and she stood up and addressed the Ashanti men.
And he's about to read it to you, and I hate to have to do it because it lasts 3 or 4 minutes, but basically I'm going to let him go on it. And what I want you to show, what I want you to see from this is not just how strong she is, but how weak the Negroids were, and they weren't going to do anything. And she threatens that the women are going to leave, and the men started thinking, well, we don't have any women left, and so we're going to have to go fight. That's the way it went down. She'll tell you.
Following words ensued, and I quote, "Now I see that some of you fear to go forward to fight for our king. If it was in the brave days of Ose Tutu, Okomfo Inoke, and Opoku Ware, chiefs
A yam kuawangwang and a yingo manamama and a yang 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 yang.
would not sit down to see their king to be taken away without firing a shot.
Oops.
No European could have dared speak to the chiefs of Asante in the way the governor spoke to you this morning. Is it true that the bravery of Asante is no more?
Is it true that the Europeans talked shit to him that morning and told him they were worthless and everything? And now she's going to yap yap? But they've got their king. He's exiled, kicked out, not going to have that. And so she jumps in place and decides to do this.
I cannot believe it. It cannot be. I must say this. If you, the men of Asante, will not go forward, then we will. We, the women, will. I shall call upon my fellow women. We will fight. We will fight till the last of us falls in the battlefields. With these words, she single-handedly boosted the morale of the entire empire. And she
single-handedly cut down the idea that black people were very brave and courageous in any way, shape, or form, for she had to tell them women are going to fight and you're a wussy.
Is immortalized in Ghana today for it. Number 4, we have Queen Zinga. Queen Zinga was a queen of the Buna people in Angola. Her claim to fame was the war she waged against the Portuguese during the slave trading throughout the region.
Her claim to fame is that she's built on slavery, and her whole family was and everything, and on the way to people trying to stop slavery and end it, she tried to keep it going and got with the Dutch people and tried to ensure that it got stronger.
Frequently manipulate European politics to her own benefit and the benefit of her people.
No.
Queen Zinga would literally fight in battle, and she waged a 30-year war against the Portuguese, and she even welcomed runaway slaves with open arms.
Nobody has any account of her actually raising a sword, swinging it on anybody, hitting anybody with a stick ever.
Formed an alliance with the Dutch and gained much respect from one Dutch general in particular. The Portuguese made several attempts to try and kill Queen Zinga, but all were unsuccessful. The Portuguese were never able to gain a stronghold over Angola as long as Queen Zinga was alive. Even European scholars praise Zinga because of her intelligence. Now at number 3, we have Queen...
Hold on, before number 3, I got to go over that last part. Nobody could do anything, and yah, while she was in power. She didn't last in power that long. And in actuality, a large amount of slaves came out of Angola. If you're a black person, take your actual DNA and it'll show you that it happened in massively all the way up until this point, massively after it, still Islamic slave trade. How she was in power is coming in through a line of people that were selling their own people. It's well known.
Manatori. Queen Manatori was another Kandake queen in ancient Nubia.
And Kandake is a Persian name for a queen, and that lady that's standing there right now is a Caucasian. She has a non-prognostic jaw and everything. There are depictions of her with lighter hair, and if you'll look, she is doing an exact mimic of 2 different things. She is doing the Orion pose that an Egyptian would, and holding everybody under her hand by the hair, just like you see in all the Egyptian ones. She's also not riding a horse or doing things. She's standing on a lion that you see this line in here. And there's another depiction too, where this is the sacred bird, and then that loop symbol that hooks up to Sumerians and all these other people, and is even the loop around cartouches of ancient Egypt. And all this goes with Caucasian people, and none of it has to do with Negroids whatsoever, and this lady is not a Negroid.
She breaks my top 3 because she was the last great builder of ancient Kush. The quantity and quality of her buildings and temples indicate that her reign was one of the most successful in all of Kushite history. Now, what solidified her in my top 3 was her religious tolerance she seemed to have possessed during her reign. What makes any ruler great is their ability to be open-minded to different worldviews and even beliefs. And Queen Manatori...
No, dude. Black people don't have any idea what it takes to make a good world leader. They don't have any, and a good leader, and it really shows over a short period of time. They have extreme problems with any type of government they've tried to put forward, even after much example and stuff. But please stop dissuading black people into believing foolish lies. It's disgusting. It really is.
Manatori is mentioned in the Bible as such. According to the Christian Bible, Queen Manatori allowed her eunuch to go to Jerusalem to worship and to pray.
Now, what I want to mention too, and I didn't just a second ago, was that whole edict that he spit out a minute ago was from Persians. And we all know Persians were very forgiving about for religions and so on, right? They were more about the bureaucracy of it, and they were not caring about religions. If you don't believe it, you definitely know Cyrus the Great set them all free and let them all have their religions and everything. They might pay homage to him, but I'm not going to freak out. Yeah.
Now, Queen Amonitore certainly wasn't a Christian, but the fact that she allowed people in her empire to practice their beliefs is pretty 21st century like, way ahead of
Those amazing Aryans.
her time. She was certainly an amazing woman.
Yep.
Coming in at number 2,
Thanks.
we have Queen Ty. Now, Queen Ty was one of the most politically influential queens in Egyptian history, and she was also the grandmother of King Tut.
And she's also a Caucasian. And if you look up her mummy, it shows long Caucasian hair. And they look it under a microscope, no matter what you try to do, it's Caucasian. Did the DNA, and damn well it's Caucasian too. Did the DNA of King Tut, who she's related to, and it's that. But lo and behold, Thuya and Yuya are directly related right here. Also, both blonde-haired mummies. And they checked it out, and A, Caucasian hair, and B, no natron or anything changed it whatsoever, blonde hair. And the funny thing about it is they've always chosen this. It's their big standpoint for blacks. Sadly, this was made out of what's called yew wood, and yew wood is light as pine whenever it's made, and when they put it in her tomb, it would have looked like her and light as pine, not as dark as this, but even more so. They always say, well, that's a fro, that's a fro. No, you can tell that it's got a mesh design on it. What's that mesh design? It's actually a silver veil doily over her hair, and this little bar thing that's there is hooked up to a pharaoh's hat that shows right up under it, and they've got CAT scans of it that literally revealed it to you, and they go, we can't pull it off of her to even try to look at it ever again because it's going to fall apart, and we wouldn't want to. But when we CAT scan it, sure enough of doing that. And then, of course, with all the information, and her mummy's right there, no one's ever going to try to claim that it's Negro. Oh, really? You are? Why do West Africans try to claim something that they didn't know existed?
Literally pioneered the blueprint of foreign relations for other African queens. She possessed a great deal of power during her husband and her son's reign. Queen Ty became her husband's trusted advisor and confidant, and she came.
You know, there's a lot of Egyptian queens that had a lot more to do with it than just standing on the side and having sex with their partner there. There are a lot of women that were given the respect to be a hard part of it. If you don't think that women were given respect somewhat in Egypt, I don't know why he left it out of here, but Hatshepsut herself, she was that pharaoh that even put on a chin beard on her things and stuff, so they would probably give her more respect like a man, and showed that, well, if you mistrust me, I will treat you as if I was a man. And that got some attention.
A lot of respect from foreign dignitaries.
Yep.
Foreign leaders were willing to deal directly through her. She continued to play an active role in foreign relations, and she was even the first Egyptian queen to have her name recorded on official acts. Not only did she win the hearts of her people, but she seems to have genuinely won the heart of her husband, especially considering the fact that most marriages back then were political in nature. Her husband devoted a number of shrines to her and even built temples for her in Nubia. She was even worshipped as a goddess. It's largely believed that she was actually of Nubian extraction.
Nope. Boy, he's going to try to throw that in there. Nope, definitely not. In fact, I think that they found out she comes from the Delta area. As far away in Egypt as you could possibly be. And sure as hell not in Nubia. He's going to even try to say that again, but when they say they built her temple in Nubia, he's lying, because it's not in Nubia. It's where they put that dam at and flooded in. Oh, the Nubians there now, not in the old days, and not when she lived there.
We made an artificial lake for her. Many Egyptologists like David O'Connor take great interest in Queen Ty. He says, and I quote, "The unprecedented thing about Ty is not where she came from, but what she became. No previous queen ever figured so prominently in her husband's lifetime. Ty regularly appeared beside Amenhotep III in statuary, tomb and temple reliefs, and stela, while her name is paired with his on numerous small objects, such as vessels and jewelry, not to mention the large commemorative scarabs, where her name regularly follows his in the dateline."
And this shows you that they talked about king and queen at least times in ancient Egypt. You know, we got a queen of England now and all that, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out where this king comes from and where that name goes. King, king. Yeah.
New elements in her portraiture, such as the addition of cow's horns and sun discs, attributes of the goddess Hathor, to her headdress and her representation in the form of a sphinx, an image formerly reserved for the king, emphasize her role as the king's divine, as well as earthly partner. As you can see, she was a very powerful, influential woman.
And finally, she was Caucasian. Here, just to make sure I show it to you, I'm going to actually go and show that to you directly, that she's wearing a headdress and that it doesn't have anything to do with what he's trying to say. Let's go back to Sabaeans here so you can just get one more look at that Caucasian here. Let's go to Google. I'm going to go to Google Images and I'm going to look up Queen Ty. Headdress. Let's see what they say about it and what they show. Well, there she is with her headdress. Oh, by the way, there's Nefertiti in that blue eye. But let's look at images here and see if we can't find that CAT scan image very, very quickly. Here's some of the Amarna art and things that are there, but there's got to be... Oh, no. So here's a picture of her, and you can see her long, straight Caucasian hair. Yeah. But worse than that, where's that CAT scan at? There's got to be that CAT scan. Okay, let's try CAT scan headdress. CAT scan headdress. How about that? That should really show up as one of the first ones. No. I'll try again. It should just be right there. Let's try Queen Ty. Headdress veil. Can I get it there? Well, they're showing all this. There's Ty's picture again. Black people like trying to look like her whatsoever. Oh, it's just gotta throw this in here real quick. Yeah, that eye's blue, and look how pale she is. She's paler than me, and I'm Irish. It's disgusting when black people try this and try to put a negroid face on places that never was intended in the first place. There's her ancient Egyptian one. Looks like Cleopatra had one too, and a few other people. Let's try to find that CAT scan image. Of course, look right here. Authentic photos, Queen Ty says she's black. Well, authentic, her mummy says she's not. Authentic genetics and her family and everything says she's not. Here it is. And so hopefully you can see this image that's right here. And that's Egyptian headdress that's below that silver veil that's right there. You can see it plain as day. So, no, you're going to quit claiming that. And by the way, here's another Egyptian right here. You're going to claim that? Are you going to try? Because you're not going to claim it. But you can try and make yourself into a fool. Let's give one more little look to prove this. Blue-eyed Egyptians, there can't be any. Oh, well, that's what black people think. But when you look at them, the earliest dynasties were all blue-eyed Egyptians. And their statues show these weird crystal blue eyes. And she does too. Where's that blue eye at? Right there. Right there. And look, again, she's paler than I am. Can you see that? No, it doesn't show up. It's too bright. Too bright of TV. But that's about the end of that. So, Queen Ty, the Caucasian, and blacks like her a whole lot. That's great. They like the white Caucasian of the white Caucasian Bible, too.
What you all been waiting for. Coming in at number 1, we have Queen Amanirenas. Queen Amanirenas was a